96.3 FM, The Source.
All right. I did my taxes yesterday. One of the questions was, did the hurricanes of 2017 affect me?
Wow.
And I was able to say no, thank goodness. But I know a lot of you, it did. So make sure you don't miss that question on your income tax return. We're not talking about taxes right now, but I think part of this discussion does have to do with the effects of natural disasters or even political things. Not sure about that, actually. Thomas Stewart is on the phone. He's the executive director of the National Center for the Middle Market. He's going to talk to us about a new report, Risk and Resilience in the Middle Market. Tom Stewart, good morning, sir. How are you?
I'm fine, Larry. How are you?
I'm good. Where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Columbus, Ohio, and I just want to know how your wallet is after you paid your taxes.
Well, put it this way. We have peanut butter and jelly today for lunch.
Yes.
Just so you know.
Is it chunky?
Yeah.
So what do we mean by the middle market? What is that?
Let me tell you, the middle market is we defined at the National Center for the Middle Market, we define it as by looking to find the middle third of the private sector in terms of revenue. So you take a third of private GDP and you say, where do you find the middle third? And that's 200,000 companies with annual sales between 10 million and $1 billion. You got about a third of GDP that comes from companies that are bigger than that, and a third of GDP that comes from companies that are smaller. But in the middle there, you've got a whole bunch of manufacturers, a lot of distribution companies, every professional sports team. The Tampa Bay is going to be a middle market company, and basically the heartbeat of the U.S. economy is it's about 18% of the middle market is manufacturing, which is more than the rest of the economy. So it's the driving point of the spear of the U.S. economy, and it's where the fastest growth and the fastest job creation take place. And so we study them. They're private companies mostly.
And
so we look at
GDP is gross domestic product?
Gross domestic product, output, okay. Private output,
All right, so when we're talking about things that could disrupt that business, I referenced the hurricanes, but that would be a metaphor, right? What are the actual things that disrupt the middle market?
Well, it's not just a metaphor, but it can be a significant cause. We looked at three kinds of disruption. We looked at digital disruption, which is, I got a malware attack, I got hacked, or just my servers went down, right? So you got technology disruption. Then we looked at operational disruption, and that could be a strike, a fire, a hurricane. It could be my supplier had a strike, a fire, a hurricane, or it could be some sort of other disruption to my operations. And then we looked at strategic disruption. And strategic disruption can come when the landscape you're competing on changes. And that could happen from trade policy changes, big demographic changes, disruptive technology that screws up your plans, big changes in your industry. So there are three kinds: strategic, operational, and disruptive. And we, obviously hurricanes fall into that operational one, although they could mess up your digital systems as well.
So what does the National Center for the Middle Market offer? Is it insurance, or is it some other way to defend yourself?
Now, we're part of Ohio State. We're a research group in the university, and our role is to try to illuminate opportunities and problems for mid-sized companies, to help them run themselves better and help policymakers and bankers and others who work with them to better understand their needs. So one of the things we learned in this study of risk, for example, is that it's those strategic risks that are the hardest to foresee, have the biggest impact, and the hardest to recover from. They're also hard to insure, right? You can get insurance for the digital risks and the operational risks, and you should, but these others are the more complicated. And so that's our job, is to sort of illuminate the opportunities and problems and contributions of mid-sized companies. And facing risk and learning to be better able to sort of take a licking and keep on ticking. That's really important for these companies and for the communities they operate in.
Okay. So yesterday or the other day when we were listening to Mark Zuckerberg talk to Congress, it almost seems like our elected officials don't understand how the private sector works.
Yeah.
So are the things you're finding out things that maybe even the middle market, the people themselves, maybe not even aware of things they need to protect themselves from?
Well, it's interesting as these companies grow, and $10 million is not a big company, but $999 million is a very big company. So as these companies grow in the middle market, they get a lot more sophisticated and a lot more mature. So we asked questions like, do you have a business continuity plan? Do you have plan B, basically? And overall, 7 out of 10 said, yes, we've got one. But if you go to the bigger companies, that moves up to 8 out of 10. And then if you look at the quality of those continuity plans, as we asked them, have you really done a good job of looking inside to see whether you've got a backup plan for your people, a backup plan with an extra line of credit in case you need it. The quality of those plans is not as good as it might be. So there's a lot of educating that needs to be done, and self-educating that needs to be done by some of these companies so that they can be smarter at identifying risks, stronger at dealing, more resilient when they deal with them, and quicker in recovery.
Do you know who I'm thinking of among our listeners? Obviously businessmen, but we also have a university in our listening audience, and I'm guessing those business students are probably very their attention has been piqued, I guess, right now by what you're saying.
Well, it's interesting, and of course that's a great university in Gainesville, and one of the things that when I talk to business students here, there's a lot of focus on these operational and digital risks, but truly understanding the strategic risk, that's interesting because it's no one person's job. Maybe it's the CEO's job, but it's really across whole executive suite. So the CFO can, think closely about my lines of credit, my insurance, and so on and so forth. And the board ought to be looking at it. But these questions about what are the big strategic things that could change the environment we're competing in, that's where you got to look up from your spreadsheet and look out and start thinking not just about the numbers, but about the qualitative stuff, the mega trends going on. And that becomes a more interesting conversation, but it's also one where it's harder to quantify. So sometimes business students and business people sort of, they get more comfortable when they can see it on their spreadsheets, and it's harder when they can't see it.
Right.
So it's really important to lift up your head and look out and have a broad conversation about where your risks are coming from.
Interesting.
Or might come from.
Tom, before we say goodbye, I want the listeners to be able to figure out, to find a way to read the report or view it for themselves. Is it on the website?
It is. Our website is middlemarketcenter.org. And the report is called Risk and Resilience in the Middle Market. So it's middlemarketcenter.org, and it's there. It's free. So we really encourage people to go and take a look.
Oh, perfect topic for this listening audience. Tom Stewart, thank you so much for being on the air with that information.
Larry, thank you.
You're welcome. We'll be right back.
Frogs are so hoppy? It's because they don't smoke or have COPD, otherwise they would be flip-floppy. If you want to quit smoking to prevent yourself from croaking, come to A Better You for a good acupuncture poking. Call me, Dr. Erica Olstein, with A Better You Healthcare to stop smoking today at 352-615-5566. 352-615-5566.
This is James Snyder, inviting you to join me each Sunday morning at 9:30 for Sunday